Welcome to the EOB Podcast, where we talk about the weekend box office and the new openings this week. I'm Benno, and joining me is Sen Duong. So, Sen, welcome back to another podcast. Okay, so last weekend we have, I believe, 3 wide releases. And we were pretty much wrong on all of our projections, right?
Well, wait, what did I have for Xander Cage? I had like 25 million or something, right?
You have 25 million, I believe, but
Yeah,
it's a bit off. I mean, you gotta stay with me here.
Yeah, I'm a little bit closer than yours. You were thinking like 45 and 50, 45 to 50.
Right. I said it would probably open to about 45 to 50 million because I thought that Vin Diesel is a bigger star because of his previous movies, especially the Fast and Furious franchise, right?
Yeah, and this is the kind of movie that people like to see him in.
Yes, and this has a
Not like The
very
Witch Hunter.
diverse cast as well. Yeah,
Yeah.
this has a very diverse cast. It has Ice Cube is coming back from the second movie. It has Donnie Yen. It has Tony Jaa, and and a popular Indian actress whose name escapes me right now.
Yeah.
And it's well reviewed, right? Around
Not well reviewed.
No, not well reviewed. No. Poorly reviewed. 42%, which is kind of in line with these genre films, really.
Yeah, 43% was actually a little better than I was expecting because I don't think the first film was well reviewed at all. And then the second one was, I think, panned. So the 43% was actually a little bit better than I expected, especially for the third film in a traditionally poorly reviewed film.
Right. But the cinema score is an A-, which is
which is again better than I was expecting.
Right. This is one of these type of movie which is like a big dumb action movies which would appeal to action fans.
Yeah. So the first Triple X at a 48% on Rotten Tomatoes. And then the second one, State of the Union, scored 16%. So the 43% for the third film is actually not bad. In relative terms.
Right. But if you read some of the reviews, I mean, for people who are into these type of movies, it's an actually really good movie.
Yeah, for them, they're like, hey, if you're into, mindless action films, this is it. But if you're not into that kind of film, then basically you're going to hate it. But for the demographic that it's targeting, they said it works.
Right. And then, of course, the surprise, really, of last weekend is M. Night Shyamalan's horror movie, Split.
Yeah. What did we have it in? I think I was saying like 15 million or something, right?
Yeah, 15 million. I say 20 million, but it doubled pretty much our projections.
Yeah, it destroyed everyone's projections. It scored 40 million over the weekend. It's the #1 film.
Since we're talking about numbers, how about we jump right in?
Okay, sure.
To the box office. All right, as you said, Split came in #1 with 40 million opening, which surprises everyone, especially us, right? We were having it pretty low. You 15, me 20, but 40 million.
Yeah, this is his M. Night Shyamalan's like 4th or 5th best opening ever, and this film was made for just 10 million. I read that M. Night Shyamalan financed this movie himself under the Jason Blum brand production.
Yeah, Jason Blum is one of the producers. That's right.
Yeah, so he financed this himself, and it scored just as high as one of his expensive studio films. His films tend to be in the 80 to 100 million budgeted range, and compared to those, this was made for pennies, and it did just as well. And it's okay for people to say they're an M. Night Shyamalan fan now, without reservations.
Right. It's surprisingly well reviewed for a horror movie as well, right? 76% last I checked at Rotten Tomatoes. B+ cinema score, which is, okay, average.
B+ is an average cinema score. But for the horror genre, which tends to be in the C- to D+ to D range, B+ is actually pretty good for a horror film.
Right. I mean, when we look at the trailers and who's in it, right? This is not a 40 million opening movie.
Yeah. No, well, again, like we said, us and no one was predicting these figures. With this following, is it The Visit?
Yeah, The Visit.
Yeah, so M. Night Shyamalan has 2 hits in a row. Big hits for these films at all. Made for, in relative terms, compared to his regular studio films, are made for pennies. I think The Visit was made for like 5 million or something, and then it ended up grossing 65 million. domestically. So this one made 4 times its budget already. They're already in profit range.
All right. But we also mentioned previously that M. Night Shyamalan's movies always grows decent. It's just that the budget is a problem where he, for horror movies in the 80s or 100 million range, that's not very good return.
Yeah, they've been opening decent. But his later films have been dropping like a brick on the second weekend. Unlike his earlier films like, Sixth Sense, which was super leggy, or even Unbreakable. But the films after those have been not as well reviewed. They're not as well reviewed, and they tend to open well but drop by a ton on the second weekend. And his films have been steadily opening less and less. But now that he's lowered his budget, they're actually getting better review and doing better on a commercial level.
Exactly. I mean, because of how cheap these movies are made for, and it's opening within, I guess you could say, within his range.
Yeah.
These movies are opening within his range, and as long as he keeps the budget low, he's going to be able to continue to crank this out, especially when now he's teamed up with Jason Blum.
Yeah. Well, I guess the great thing now is I read from other people, now he has complete creative control.
Which is bad, by the way.
Well, it depends. In some terms, sometimes it's bad, sometimes it's good, but From what we've seen lately, from what we've seen for these last few films, it seems to be pretty good that he has more creative control over these films compared to his previous studio films.
Right. The problem with his previous films is the budget, right? I mean, now that he has control, he probably wants to up the budget a bit more. That's when he gets into trouble. So this success, I mean, you could maybe see that he would want to have more money to make his next film.
I'm not sure, but I guess sometimes these talents, when studios look at these talented directors or actors, sometimes they think, this guy can make a movie that's going to be a blockbuster. And when they think in those terms, they tend to throw more money at them. And sometimes they just don't know what to do with all that money. And they get into trouble. And when studios throw all that money at them, they want more control. Like Stallone in the 80s and 90s, the biggest action star in the US, and then his career slowly declined, and then he started making the Rocky films and the Rambo and Expendables, and kind of resurrected his career by, like M. Night Shyamalan just writing his own stuff and kind of having more control over their movies. And sometimes it seems like just getting the studios away allows them to do that.
Well, with a low budget, they have more leeway or have room for failure, right? A failure does not cost anybody that much money.
Yeah. The studios are like, it's just 10 million. We have bigger movies to worry about. We're going to go and focus on the $100 million movies and the $200 million movies. So we'll just let M. Night do whatever he wants with his 10 million.
Right, and they can always make it back on home video, right? Or rentals. These type of movies are great for those.
Yeah. I mean, studio intervention sometimes is good and sometimes it's bad. And sometimes there's just too many cooks in the kitchen.
Yeah, but what I'm saying with regards to M. Night Shyamalan, his problem is really the big budget. It's not his movies, right? It's not
just no. It was his movies too, because his movies on a quality level after The Sixth Sense and Unbreakable were on them, going downhill. Like the reviews were horrible instead of 70s, 80s, and 90s. And Signs was pretty well reviewed too. That's another one of his big hits. But after his films were going down to like 50%, 30%. The grosses have also went down along with the quality. So it wasn't just the budget. It was maybe the budget was the cause of them being worse films. But right now, with the budget lower and probably, like we mentioned, with less studio intervention, he's able to get back his mojo.
You could say that, but I feel that like if taken by itself in isolation, right, his movies, even though his lower grossing ones are okay movies, right, but it's just that once you have each one.
No, I wouldn't say that though.
They always have the same formula, the twist, right? They're always complaining about where's the twist? We see we're waiting for the twist to come. So that's why I feel that his problem is that he got locked into this formula that he needs to do.
Yeah, they pretty much pushed him into a corner where he's just the twist guy, and he became a punchline. His films post Signs kind of in terms of the quality have suffered.
Yeah, and then his movies is judged by how good that twist is, right? People were expecting it, and if it turned out to be like The Village, right? People
Yeah.
would say, oh, that's not very good, because they're judging that by the payoff at the end. They're like, oh, have we been tricked? Is the trick good?
Yeah.
So I feel that way. But now that he's returning to lower budget movies, he has more leeway with his movies, right?
Yeah, and
He
speaking of
doesn't need to
twists,
cast
speaking
Tom
yeah,
Cruise or
yeah,
anything.
right. Speaking of twists, Split is another one of his twist films.
Yeah.
Yeah. But according to all the reviews, it works. Most of the
Okay, all
reviews,
right,
it
all right.
works.
Yeah.
And like you said, maybe because he's not casting, these big superstars and these big producers and the studio. There's not as many people. He doesn't have to accommodate as many people. Now he can just focus on his creative vision, and with less cooks in the kitchen, these films are probably more focused, and they seem to be better.
Okay, and we also have to take into account the cycle.
Yeah.
There's a new group out now that haven't seen his movies, right?
Um,
Haven't got used to his twists. I mean, enough years has passed.
Sure, but the only problem with that argument is critics have still remember all of his films and still remember him as the twist guy.
Well, yeah, but how many critics are still working though?
What's that?
I say, how many of those old critics are still working?
A lot of them. I mean, I don't think any critic would be like, oh, who's M. Night Shyamalan?
All right, yeah, but my argument is that there is a turnover in the audience and also the critics as well, and as a result, we've seen, I guess, an uptick in his movies. I mean, a contributing factor, not the factor. A contributing factor.
Well, I would disagree, but
Okay. As with all horror movies, right? I expect a huge drop off, especially since it opened at 40 million.
it depends because with horror films tend to be poorly reviewed. So when they're poorly reviewed, those films tend to appeal to that core horror group. But Split seems like one of those films that's well reviewed, just like Shyamalan's previous film, The Visit. That was pretty well reviewed too, and that was very leggy. So I think Split might follow that trend more than the traditional horror trend. So we'll see next week.
Right. Okay. So moving along to number 2, to a movie that I was very wrong on. For reasons I probably know why, but I couldn't explain. If that makes sense. And you were closer, right? Triple X, The Return of Xander Cage, which is the third movie in this franchise. Vin Diesel returns to play the title character, right? The previous movie, the second movie, was headed by Ice Cube.
Yeah.
Right? He returned. Supposedly, this is a bigger movie, with him returning, with Ice Cube returning, joining, Donnie Yen. As
Well,
you
Ice
said,
Cube
Tony
had a
Jaa.
cameo. Yeah, so I won't say he was returning. He had a cameo.
Okay, a cameo returning,
Yeah,
whatever.
yeah,
He's
yeah.
in the movie. Okay, he's in the movie.
Yeah.
And yeah, bigger than the previous movies, but it only pulled in 20 million.
Yeah, not that much bigger, though.
Opening to 20 million. Yeah, it opened to 20 million.
Yeah, I think the second film has a similar budget, if not slightly higher, and for that budget at this time is actually a lot more than now. But this film does definitely, like you said, feels bigger because they're throwing everyone. Not only did they get Ice Cube for a cameo, they also threw in like an international cast. They threw in Donnie Yen, Tony Jaa, and from India, Deepika Padukone. All right.
Okay.
I could be wrong
How
there.
about we go on a first name basis with Deepika? We're on a first name basis.
All right, and Tony Collette. So
Right.
Tony Collette is an international.
Okay, don't knock Toni Collette.
Yeah, but hey, she's a great actress. We gotta put her out there. Like you said, they're throwing whatever they can into it to try to make sure this will be a hit. And the response is just kind of okay. I mean, 20 million is not nearly in the range of the Fast and Furious, but it's better than Vin Diesel's other films. Even the last Riddick film, excluding Fast and the Furious, and maybe the second Riddick film. This is probably one of his higher openings. but it's just kind of an okay opening.
Yeah, we talked previously about who could replace Liam Neeson and his action movies, right? And it turned out that it's split. Maybe
Yeah,
it's
it turned out
M. Night
it's split.
Shyamalan. Yeah, maybe it's M. Night Shyamalan who's taking over the January slot now.
Yeah, yep. But, it's not all bad news for Xander Cage. Like we previously mentioned the international cast. It grossed 50.5 million in the foreign market, which is very good, actually. So worldwide, it did 70.6 million in one weekend on the 85 million budget, which is very good. And when you compare the 50 million openings to, everyone I think mentions G.I. Joe Retaliation. And that ended up doing, on a 50 million opening, ended up doing like 185 million internationally. So if this one follows that trajectory, it's going to be a solid hit.
Yeah. I mean, we did say that this movie will do way better overseas if not here.
Yeah.
So then again, we have to see how leggy this movie is, right? Even though it has a 20 million opening, it could quietly cross 100 at some point. It could be.
I doubt it.
One of these leggy movies.
I doubt it.
Okay.
Because I mean, even though the audience reaction A- is actually pretty good, the only problem I see is even leggy action films will at most do 3.5 times its opening. Even Riddick, the last Riddick opened at like 19 million, and then I think it only ended up doing like 38 million. So it was only about 2 times the opening weekend. So this one, I mean, if it did 3 times, I would think that's pretty leggy for an action film. The other thing going against it is this weekend it was Resident Evil, which is kind of an action horror film, and will probably take a chunk of the audience from this film.
That is true. But this movie's opening, I think, says another thing.
Yeah.
And that is that, Donnie Yen and Tony Jaa are not big draws here.
Yeah, they're not big draws here yet. These films aren't tailor-made for them yet. But, if you just took Donnie Yen and Tony Jaa and it opened at 20 million, that's pretty good. It's just that this is a franchise that, where the first film it opened to 50 million. But if Donnie Yen did a movie and it opened at 20 million, that's pretty good,
No, that's pretty good, but this is a Vin Diesel movie, though.
Yeah.
It's not like a Donnie Yen movie, but,
yeah.
As we say, it's like addition. You should see some, slight bump.
Yeah.
The addition of these people, right? But, it didn't seem like it.
Yeah. But, we'll see if they give Donnie Yen a solo movie, what happens. Because most of the reviews, they give him a lot of props. A lot of reviews have mentioned that he kind of stole the film from Vin Diesel. So we'll see. And the audience reaction has been good.
Exactly, but the people who are into these movies know who Donnie Yen is,
Yeah.
And who knows who Tony Jaa is, right? But it's just that the general audience are probably not ready for Donnie Yen.
We don't know yet until you put them in a film by themselves and, kind of like, Jackie Chan, if he was just doing a secondary role in a film. But, Rush Hour, they kind of tailor-made Rush Hour for him, and it turned out to be a huge hit. So we don't know until they do that. There's another bright spot for Xander Cage on the international market. It did 50 million without the bigger Asian markets. It hasn't opened in, I think, Japan. It hasn't opened in South Korea, and most importantly, it hasn't opened in China yet. And this is the kind of film that does really well in China.
Mm-hmm.
That's another bright spot. This opens in China in February 10th. And if it does well there, which I think it will, because compared to World 1, Donnie Yen's role here is a lot bigger. And it's the kind of, mindless action film that is easy to translate to the Chinese audience.
Right. Yeah, and it's just not a mindless action film. It's a feel-good action film, if that makes sense at all.
A feel-good action
like
film?
Everyone is kind of having fun.
Oh, yeah. Everyone is having a lot of fun in this film.
It's not like John Wick, it's not a tale of revenge, for example. Everyone has
right.
to die.
Right. I saw it over the weekend. I thought it was exactly like they said. A mindless action film. And Donnie Yen actually did really well, even though they cut up most of his fight scenes. But whatever they show wowed the audience. I mean, the only time you hear wows in the audience was during his fight scenes. So he did make an impression. And again, we'll see how well it holds up.
Right. Okay, how about we jump ahead to number 3, Hidden Figures. It fell to the third spot with 15.7 million. Domestic gross right now is 83 million. The budget's only 25, so it continues to do well.
Yeah, and it continues to hold up really well, especially compared to all the films in the top 10. It's the one that held up the best. The drop off from last weekend is only 25%, very low. We were saying, hey, could this be another The Help? And looks like it is, if not slightly better.
Right, and it's also one of these like kind of low-key movies, right? You don't hear a lot of things about it. You don't hear people talking about it, but it's quietly making, 83 million, right?
Yeah. Did it get nominated for any Oscars?
Okay, let's take a quick look. Best Picture, Arrival, Fences, Hacksaw Ridge, Hell or High Water. Oh, Hidden Figures.
Okay, so it did get nominated for Best Picture. Okay, so pretty good.
All right. It didn't escape the eyes of the awards people. So, okay, it's there.
Yeah, but I mean, it's not La La Land or Manchester by the Sea or Moonlight where everyone's talking it up for awards. It's, like you said, just kind of like, compared to those films in relative terms, it's kind of quiet.
Right. But hey, it's getting rewarded at the box office. It's probably going to continue these low drop-offs, right? Going to stay in theaters for a long time, I feel.
Right. And speaking of films that are holding up well, not as well, but close is Sing at number 4. Universal's Illumination animation. It grossed 9 million over the weekend. It dropped off. It's only 37%, and after 5 weeks of release, it has already grossed 249 million, which is better than what I was expecting. But you was expecting this.
Yeah.
I wasn't expecting it to do Despicable Me or Minions numbers, and it slowly got there. It's already doing as well as Despicable Me, and it's holding up pretty well. So it looks like it'll probably pass what the first Despicable Me film did at the box office.
Yeah, right now it's at a domestic take is 250 million, and a worldwide take is 428. And I'm kind of surprised that the overseas take is so low. Maybe because it hasn't opened in some of the bigger markets yet, like China, Japan.
Right. Especially Japan, which is a huge market for animated films. Yeah, so it might be their release strategy. They might be releasing it like how Disney released their animated films, which is they release them when they get to those countries, unlike DreamWorks, which tends to just release it everywhere at the same time.
No right or wrong, right? Just depending on if there's a demand for the movie or not.
Yeah.
And what else is in theater at the time?
Yeah. So the first Despicable Me film did 251.5 million domestically, so it looks like Sing will surpass that, which is pretty impressive.
Yeah, all right. We're not going to go talk about sequels, so I'm not sure if they will make a sequel with this.
You know what? At this point, I think they will. We might even see spin-offs. I mean, when Despicable Me did this well, they not only cranked out sequels, they cranked out spin-offs. So they're going to milk this. Let's put it this way.
Okay. Bring them on. And since they're all made for about 75 million or so, potentially it could be pretty profitable for Universal.
Yeah.
All right. Number 5 is La La Land. I guess it has a lot of noms in this year's Oscars. Pulled in 8.4 million over the weekend. So in the 7th weekend, domestic gross is about 90 million. Yeah, worldwide is 174.
Yeah, surprisingly, it's doing really well overseas. It grows about 85 million overseas. That's better than what I was expecting because musicals aren't films that usually translate well overseas, but this is doing really well. Surprisingly, the drop-off has been pretty big this weekend, 42%. It was holding up so well. But I guess the main thing is the last weekend, they didn't add any theaters. Because in the previous weekends, they added like hundreds of theaters. But the last weekend, they didn't add any theaters. And I think they were probably waiting for the Oscar nomination. So
yeah, according to Box Office Mojo, it added about 17 theaters. So
but that's not much. I mean, compared to the previous weekends where it was adding like 300 theaters and 700 theaters. But I read somewhere that they were waiting for the Oscar nominations to expand it to like 2,500 theaters. So we might see a huge expansion this weekend. Without the expansion, it experienced its biggest drop so far, 42%.
And of course, with the Oscar noms, it will get a bump this weekend.
Yeah, it's gonna get a bump this weekend in theaters, and it might do just as well, if not slightly better, next weekend.
Yeah, yep, and it's closing in on 100 million domestic, and like you said, it's doing surprisingly well overseas. 174 million is nothing to scoff at, especially for a movie that cost 30 million to make, and it is a musical with singing and dancing.
Yeah.
Maybe it is different enough that it attract viewers.
Plus, I think all the Oscar talks and this being the movie to see probably helped it overseas too.
Right.
Speaking of films doing well internationally, Rogue One, a Star Wars story, added an additional 7 million over the weekend, experienced a 47% drop off, probably due to XXX, maybe a little bit. After 6 weeks of release, it has already closed 512 million domestically. The budget is 200 million, and worldwide it surpassed 1 billion.
Yeah, nothing more to say.
The ranking, let me see, is it the third or fourth highest grossing film of the year worldwide? Fourth. It's the fourth highest grossing film of the year, behind Captain America 3, Finding Dory, and Zootopia. Looks like in a couple more weeks it will probably surpass Zootopia and Finding Dory, but it doesn't look like it's gonna pass Captain America Civil War as the top grossing film of 2016 worldwide.
Yes, and in Star Wars terms, right, or in the rankings, it's only behind The Force Awakens in the take.
In domestic box office?
Yeah.
Yep. And this is just a spin-off.
It is a spin-off too, and worldwide it's still number 2 behind The Force Awakens.
Yeah, right. So that's pretty good. That's really good.
Yeah, so like I said, nothing more to say, and judging by these figures, right, it bodes well for future Star Wars movies and the spin-offs.
I read online that this might not be the last that we're going to see of some of the characters in Rogue One. I read somewhere that some of the characters might appear in the Han Solo movie.
I wouldn't be surprised. They are taking the Marvel approach where each character is appearing in other movies, right, and basically telling one big story with multiple movies.
And I also read in an interview Donnie Yen said for his character, they gave him a whole book of background story. So we might potentially see one focus on just his character in the future. Might.
Yeah, we might, and because it's Star Wars, I mean, it might do really well.
Yeah.
And Xander Cage, XXX.
Yeah.
All right, moving along to number 7 is Monster Trucks, the Paramount monster movie. Is it movie about a monster that lives in the what's that part called?
Inside of a truck.
The front part of the truck. Yeah, inside a truck.
Yeah, the engine.
Yeah, the engine area of the truck, compartment of the truck.
It's basically those. What are those? Those shell crabs.
I don't
those
know.
Crabs that live in those crabs that live in inside the shells.
Yeah, hermit crabs, but it's not a crab. It has like octopus arms.
Yeah, but similar concept. It's a monster living under a truck and controlling it.
Yes. So it pulled in 7 million in the second weekend. Domestic gross is 22 million so far. Worldwide is 41 million.
At a budget of 110 million.
Oh yeah. So it's really high, and it's not doing well here or overseas.
Yeah, it's one of those weird, strange movies. When it come out, it's so weird. I might just watch it, but at the same time, it's kind of like I don't think it's what people were thinking when they were thinking a movie on monster trucks.
Yeah, I think it's one of these movies that are like rentals. Direct to video titles. It's so out there. You see the posters for these big robot movies that's kind of like Transformers, but not.
Yeah.
That's made for like the cable channels.
Yeah.
It feels kind of like that, this movie.
I think the idea sprang from someone who's kind of under the influence.
As we said before, as we mentioned before, it might.
Yeah, I'm surprised they all went along with it. 110 million. It's such an odd, strange idea.
Yes. Don't think they'll be trying it again.
No.
Right.
But when you're under the influence, this is what happens. Sometimes.
Right. Okay. All right. Enough drug talks.
Okay. Right.
Let's move on to number 8, which is occupied by Patriots Day. It's the Mark Wahlberg Peter Berg collaboration. It pulled in 5.7 million over the weekend. Not doing well at all. I mean, domestic gross so far is 23 million, and it's in its 5th weekend already.
Right, and it's decently well reviewed. The budget is only 45 million for this, so even if they lose money, they're not going to lose that much. Unlike Deepwater Horizons, which was, the budget was 100 million plus. So this one, the budget is at least a lot lower.
Right. Okay, number 9. It's Sleepless. It's the Jamie Foxx action thriller. Put in 3.5 million over the weekend. Domestic gross is about 15 million so far in its 2nd weekend, and it's a huge drop off from the previous weekend, about 58%.
Yeah, it's Jamie Foxx's take on the Taken movie, and I guess people just not accepting it.
I guess so. Nothing more to say about Sleepless.
Yeah.
How about number 10?
The Bye Bye Man took a huge drop off, 75%. Holy moly! It was a surprise hit when it opened last weekend. It did 13 million or something on a budget of just 7.4 million. But this weekend it was probably because of Split. It experienced a 75% drop off. Holy cow!
Yeah, and it's exactly because of Split, because hey, they're targeting the same audience.
Yeah, but still, it only cost 7.5 million to make, so they're doing good.
Yeah, and like I said, the secret to horror movies is the low budget.
Yeah,
gotta keep the budget low, and if you can have a surprise hit on your hand, great. If not, then you can still make a decent profit.
Right.
All right. Of note is number 11, The Founder. It's the drama / comedy, I guess, starring Michael Keaton as the guy who kind of made McDonald's big into this big national chain.
Right.
And he kind of used underhanded method to do it, to achieve that.
Did you mention how much it made yet?
No, you go ahead.
Okay, it made 3.4 million over the weekend. What were we predicting? Around 5 million or so?
Let's see. Let me take a look. Yeah, about 5 million.
Yeah, so we weren't too far off. It's one of these movies, surprisingly, it's made by the Weinstein company. And usually they're pretty gung-ho about their movies when it comes to the award season. And they kind of just ignored and abandoned this. You'd think they would be promoting this like crazy. It wasn't like this was a bad movie. It was it's decently well reviewed. On Rotten Tomatoes, it's I think it was like 80%.
Yeah, last I checked it was 80.
Yeah, so it's decently well reviewed, and surprisingly they weren't pushing it at all. They just kind of threw it out there.
All right. I mean, they would push any movie.
Yeah, they would push.
Into
they pushed films that were less well regarded in years past and have been successful. But this one, they just kind of ignored it.
Yeah, the Weinstein's MO is make these movies, get it nominated, and then have the award bump, right?
Yeah, but they just kind of ignore this.
Yeah, right.
And another film of note is the Resurrection of Gavin Stone. It's one of these faith-based films, and it did 1.2 million over the weekend. And what did we have it at?
Which is kind of exactly where you had it. You said 2 million, I said 5 because good round number. And yeah, it did about where we expected, less than 5.
Yeah.
But it's only in 890 theaters, and the thing about faith-based films is that it could do really well, or it could just do about Gavin Stone numbers.
Yeah.
That rounds out the top 10 and notable movies. How about we move on to the new releases this weekend? We have, you can say, 3 big releases. We have the Resident Evil movie, The Final Chapter, and A Dog's Purpose, and Gold. How about we start off with Resident Evil, The Final Chapter? Yeah,
we mentioned how this will probably take a chunk of Triple X's business over the weekend. The last Underworld film didn't do too well. It's similar type of film, female action horror movie. But the only difference with this one is the trailer for this actually looks pretty good. It looks huge. It looks like this is the last hurrah. And they do everything they can at it, and it looks like a very expensive film. It looks very grand, and I expect this to not continue with the whole sequel fatigue that we've been seeing throughout 2016. What do you think?
This franchise has been pretty consistent. Even though it has its ups and downs, it has been pretty consistent. So I'm kind of with you there. I don't expect underworld numbers like that drop. I don't expect that because, like I say, of its consistencies, and it seems to have an overall story arc that you can follow. And since this one promised to be the final chapter, maybe that people can say, hey, this series is coming to an end. Whereas with the underworld movies, right, they try to kind of have sort of standalone movies, which is that they're moving one step at a time, and it's another battle with werewolves and vampires, and they're putting in humans as well. So there doesn't seem to be an end to it or a hook for audiences to come back to. So that's where the fatigue comes in. It's like, what's the point of these movies? But with Resident Evil, right, there is a beginning, middle, and hopefully end with this final chapter.
Yeah, like you said, these films have been fairly consistent in terms of their opening in box office. But the last one, there was a noticeable drop too, though, in 2012. Let's go through these numbers. Okay, the first film opened to 23 million. The second film opened to about 24 million, and then the third film opened to about 27 million, and then the previous one only did 21 million. In terms of domestic gross, it's 40 million for the first one, 51 million for the second one, 51 million for the third one, and 60 million for the fourth one, and then the last one only did 42 million. But here's a big but: the last one did nearly 200 million overseas for a worldwide total of 240 million. So, and that's why we're seeing, despite only doing 42 million domestically, we're seeing another sequel. It seems like on an interest level, these films have been opening in the 20 million range. But the last one, there was a drop-off in terms of opening and the final gross, the domestic gross. I don't know, that kind of tempers things down a little bit. Right?
So we, forget about what I said about the underworld movies.
Yeah, I was with you until I started looking at these numbers.
Yeah, we might see another underworld decline. Yeah. So, having said that, right? I mean, what do you think? I mean, do you think this movie will probably at least do 20 million? I mean, open to 20 million?
Now this seems like maybe not. How did Underworld did? Underworld did 13 million?
Underworld, open to about 13 million.
Alright, I'll give this a slight bump, 15 million.
Alright, you say 15, and you know what? Let me give it a further bump, even though I'm with you with 15.
Yeah.
I'm just giving a 5 million sin-off, since this promised to be the final movie, and Mila Jovovich has been good to us.
Alright. Sure.
That's been good for the franchise. I'll give it a 20 million. Even though I think it's closer to your 15 million than mine, 20 million.
Okay.
But as we know, this franchise is huge overseas. So regardless how it did here, it's gonna be huge overseas.
Yeah, and it already holds 35 million overseas in just Japan and a few other territories. So it did about 32 million in Japan. So it's already off to a great start overseas.
We'll see this coming weekend to see how this movie opened. We were initially pretty bullish on the movie, right?
Big on it.
Pretty big on it because how well it did overseas. But by looking at the trend numbers of the previous movies, the domestic interest in the movie is on the downslide, and it might do sort of underworld numbers.
It might.
Kate Beckinsale. So 15 you, 20 me. Okay. And the movie that could surprise this weekend, A Dog's Purpose.
Yeah, although there's been bad publicity for it, though. I'm not sure if it's, they say any publicity is good publicity, but publicity for this was that they abused and mistreated a dog during the production of the film. So I'm not sure now how willing people are to support the film now.
All right. So there's that hanging over this movie. The movie's directed by Lasse Hallström, who did sort of kind of similar movies like The 100-Foot Journey, Salmon Fishing in the Yemen, Chocolat, My Life as a Dog, and others.
So good movies.
Yeah, so good movies, well-regarded movies, and this could be one of them.
Yeah, this could be one of them. But now because of the bad publicity, how willing are people to support a film that abused and mistreated the title, an animal, the title of the film, Dog's Purpose.
But how widespread is this news? How overblown? Like,
It's
do
pretty
people
widespread.
hear that much?
I had no care about this movie before, and I read about it.
Mhm.
But now at least I know about the film, but I know it in bad terms. This is a kind of feel-good movie about how great a dog is, but then we see behind the scenes they actually abuse the dogs to make this movie. So then it's like, how willing are people to support a film that abused the subject matter?
I think we
making
will
of it.
find out. Yeah,
Yeah.
we will find out. We will find out. See if this bad publicity will affect this movie any. This movie is about a dog. We see the movie through the dog's eyes, who have various owners, because it reincarnates into different dogs.
Yeah.
This dog affects other people's lives, and how they go through everything together, etc., etc. So
Yeah, I think it's gonna be a muted opening, like maybe 5 million, because of the bad publicity.
yes, and this movie is 2 hours. Not exactly a kid-friendly movie.
I think this might have a birth of a nation effect because of I think the bad publicity will negatively affect this.
Maybe. And this movie is opened in about 2,900 theaters.
Yeah, so
it's
very wide.
pretty wide.
They were
So it's pretty
expecting
wide.
big things.
All right, so I'm gonna give it a bump, maybe about 8 million.
All right, just a slight bump.
Just a slight bump, 8 million. Okay. And finally, we have Gold. It stars Matthew McConaughey, Edward Ramirez, Bryce Dallas Howard. Supposedly based on a true story.
And it's probably one of those films that was maybe made to made for the award season, but surprisingly, again, abandoned by the Weinstein Company. Sure, it was made
yes.
by their Dimension label, but then this one, the review so far doesn't seem that great. It's at on Rotten Tomatoes, only 14 reviews, is at 43%. So maybe they were correct in abandoning this film.
I doubt it. Like I said, the Weinsteins would push anything for the award season. This movie stars Matthew McConaughey as I guess a guy who's down on his luck, and he teams up with Edgar Ramirez to mine gold in some South American country, and they hit it big. And then of course there's the story about the rise and fall of this guy.
Yeah, of course, when you hit it big with gold and there's a lot of money involved, everyone starts doing things behind everyone's back, and chaos ensues, and loyalties are destroyed, and we get a movie.
You're right. It's kind of like the poor man's version of the Wolf of Wall Street.
Yeah, sure. Yeah, okay, sure.
Okay. Kind of like that. One of those movies.
All right, yeah.
Yeah. I don't know. Matthew McConaughey is a draw, but I'm not sure how big of a draw he is in this movie.
Yeah, because his most consistent genre used to be romantic comedies. Like you put in a romantic comedy, it's guaranteed to open to 20 million and do like 80 million. But then he started doing more quality films and have been doing well. He won an Oscar and it's been great for him, and he's been going down that path. But this one isn't well reviewed. He plays a bald guy, so I'm not sure how what audience this will appeal to. It's not it's not for the award season. The premise doesn't seem that interesting. I'm thinking 4 million.
Oh sure, I'll give it like I say, another round number 5.
Okay.
Mainly because it has a vibe similar to Free State of Jones, his previous movie.
Yeah, just kind of there.
Yeah, which is kind of like, wait, are people really interested in this?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It's just the subject matter. Who is this character? Like, who cares about some guy who discovered a gold mines in South America? We don't know who this guy is or his place in history.
Yeah. Plus, the reviews for both of those films weren't great. They weren't like quality films.
Yeah, that's right.
And the thing is, when you make these films, they have to be, well reviewed, because most of these films are kind of made for the award season, and if they're not well reviewed and they're not quality films, they tend to not do that well. He's not attracting his, romantic comedy audience or other people who are fans of his.
Yeah, exactly. In the Free State of Jones, right? He at least looks good, right?
Sure.
Yeah, well, in Gold, he, like you said, plays a guy who's losing his hair, balding guy, who has bad teeth.
Right.
And generally a guy with questionable character.
Yeah.
So you don't know. I don't know what the draw for this movie is. The subject matter, I don't think will appeal to anybody. It's not appealing, like you say, to his usual romantic comedy audience. So yeah, I wouldn't be surprised if it made lower. I wouldn't be surprised if it pulled in $3 million.
Yeah. In other words, this is not Magic Mike.
No.
I'm surprised you haven't come up with any puns for the title.
Well, it's there, right? It's not Gold. This movie's not Gold, right? Despite its title. Okay,
yeah.
you forced me into this. All right. Or Fool's Gold. Fool's Gold.
Fool's Gold. Yeah.
All right.
I'm not sure if Fool's Gold was even right. Fool's Gold would mean this would open well and then plummet in the coming weeks, but yeah.
All right. I'm kind of lazy right now since it's still in the morning, so I'm not up to speed on this yet. So,
yeah, and we don't prepare for these things.
Exactly.
Am I just speaking for myself?
No. I don't prepare for it either. This is just for entertainment purposes. Like, we don't make really good projections at all. As like we did last week, right? We're pretty off. You're kind of close, but in general we're pretty off. But hopefully this week we'll get back on track.
No, right. All right, we'll see how we do next week then.
All right. Thanks for listening.